Hello and welcome back to Pravus Gaming and more Democracy 3 Electioneering, playing as France. We're moving on to year 9, only 2 years left in this term, and then, per the law, we will be ending the campaign. Getting pretty close. Alright, let's see what happens. Housing expansion. There is a shortage of homes in our country, and the government is under pressure to relax the planning laws and allow previously restricted greenbelt land to be built on. Do we relax the planning laws? Which basically means that there's going to be more supply of housing, and therefore the pricing of homes will go down, which is kind of good for the economy and for personal home ownership, but I don't know. We have so much state housing in France, I'm not sure it's going to be too important to us. Or we can try to preserve the environment to make environmentalists happy. Yeah, let's go ahead and keep the planning restrictions. I think that's fine. The global economy is still in a deep recession, by the way. Oh my god, it bottomed out. It's starting to pick up some steam, but I don't think I've ever actually seen it go down to 0 before. Wow. That is awful. But okay, despite that, we are doing remarkably well. We also do not have much of a surplus anymore, because we lowered taxes, income tax. Now we only have 7.6. Still, as the GDP goes up, if it goes up, I think we'll be fine. If we have to pull into reserves a little bit, no problem. You know, a few years of building up a good stash of money means we can actually be a little bit more frivolous and not worry about it too much. All right, let's go ahead and pass some new policies that were in Clones and Drones. How about the rare earth metal mining? I do believe that I saw this policy suggested to me back in my Holy United Kingdom campaign, forgetting that this does belong to the Clones and Drones expansion, which I was not playing with at the time. So I had no idea what you were talking about. Now I do. Rare earth metal mining. Support national initiatives for rare earth metal mining. I feel like it should be rare metal, just not rare earth metal, just rare metal. This seems a little bit more confusing to me, like gold and silver and platinum and stuff, in order to make the country's industrial and high-tech production less dependent on imports from foreign countries. Well, that sounds a little bit autocratic, but okay. The extraction process is not good for the environment, but our technological advancements depends on rare earth materials. Environmentalists are furious. You know what? Let's give it a shot. I want to know what happens. Okay, they're not happy. Yeah, that's also really expensive, I just realized. 30 billion euros. That's too much. If I set this down to 0, though, this costs me practically nothing, and these are huge. Oh my god! This is an amazing policy. Okay, so setting it to widespread extraction is arguably pretty good as far as like a production standpoint, but it makes environmentalists really unhappy and it costs a ton of money. Set it down to minimum, and you actually still get a ton of productivity. An 11% boost for 1 billion. Oh my god, this is amazing, and it doesn't upset anyone. Holy crap, rare earth metal mining. Set it to minimum, always. Never ever play a campaign again without rare earth metal mining at least set down to minimum. Jeez, dude. Was not expecting that. But okay. Let's also pass the Labor Day bank holiday. Why? Well, I know it's going to hurt the GDP, but it does increase socialism membership. There it is. So yeah, if we max this out, the GDP goes down by 2.3%. That sucks, and it does seem kind of ridiculous to me that one day out of the year being a holiday reduces the GDP by 2%. That's way too much in my opinion. It's insane. But socialism membership will go up by nearly 5%, which is good for us. As far as controlling the vote, we're already up to 88% of the population is socialist. So maxing that out even further would not be so bad in my opinion. I'm okay with that. Let's move on to the next turn. Oh, shoot. Okay, we have a corporate exodus now. Labor survey. The latest annual labor survey shows unemployment is extremely low, and that's being attributed to me. Of course it is. Woo, all right. Our lack of business-friendly policies are forcing international companies to close down factories and offices and move their businesses to other countries. This is what happens when you tax the businesses too much, guys. And that, by the way, also applies to real life. Tax businesses so much that it ceases to be profitable to operate in your country and they will leave. And don't be surprised, because guess what? Companies are not patriotic. Companies literally exist to make money. That is their purpose. If they are no longer making money, they will go somewhere else. Don't be surprised by this. Okay, so the labor laws are a major contributor. Corporation tax is huge. Cap CEO pay is actually also making this worse. Right, okay. I think we are going to have to lower some corporation tax if you want to get rid of this, because this is having a huge impact on the GDP, 22.6%. By the way, if you're curious why capitalists in the United States are so opposed to continually increasing corporate taxes and so on, it's because of this exact fear, that a corporate exodus will occur, something like this anyway, and it will have a huge impact on the GDP. And this game does seem to support that concept. So we need to get rid of this. Corporation tax. It's currently set to 16%, and it is contributing 28.61% to the corporate exodus. If I reduce this down to... oh gosh. Wow, it's a pretty linear thing. Heck, if you had a 50% corporate tax, you are guaranteed to get the corporate exodus. Wow. Yeah, never rely too heavily on a corporation tax in this game. That's all I have to say. Oh my gosh, the effect on the GDP, too. Oh my god. Yeah, no. Let's reduce this down to 1% for now. It'll pretty much erase all, all the income from it, but it'll also erase all negative impact from the corporation tax. So, okay, we're going to give that a shot. I probably will increase it later, but first we need to get rid of the corporation exodus. Because, holy crap, this is really bad. I'm not going to lie, this is really bad. I said ahead of time, I'm playing with the numbers to see how much I can get away with. Well, it turns out I kicked the bull too many times, and now it's charging at me, and I'm going to get gored to death if I don't do something about it. Let's reduce the automation tax as well, because we're no longer as worried about the industrial automation as we were before, and I am hoping that a 28% decrease in the corporate exodus plus another 10% might be enough to end this. Maybe. This will also improve our technology and stuff a little bit, which, isn't a huge deal considering we're almost maxed out, but still. So yeah, a lot of this is going to go down. 30-something%. I wish there was a metric for each of these little cubes to know what, how much each one was worth as far as a percentage. Is it each 5? So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I mean, in theory, that would be enough to end this event outright just by changing those two policies. But we'll see how long it takes for these guys to kick in. Maybe it's enough, maybe it's not. I don't really know, because I never have the corporate exodus, because I'm never so gosh dang hostile to my companies, personally. What else should we do? Let's max out state housing. Yeah, okay. Socialism membership goes up. It's expensive. I don't even care anymore. Screw this. We have a reserve for a reason. Let's spend all of the money. All of the money. I'm going to hold on to the rest of my points for now, though, because I want to see what happens and save up some extra points to possibly make more changes depending. DNA database. We are going to prevent the database. Again, I feel like we've seen this event before, but maybe I'm wrong. Oh my god, the deficit, though. 56 billion euros. That is really bad. Things are starting to get a little out of control in France. A little bit. Oh boy. Okay. Well. Maybe how... Oh, wow. Ethnic minorities are increasing a lot too. Okay, immigration is officially too high. Way too high. It's messing with the wages. Let's do border controls, and let's reduce this even further. There we go. That's okay, right? Probably. I have 29 political capital left. What should we do? A few things we could do as far as like some eco-home regulations, but those are expensive and don't do a lot for me. Very tax allowance would increase conservatives. I could do like some punitive wealth taxes, but the thing is, if the corporate tax or the corporate exodus is already occurring, I'm kind of confused. Where's the tax evasion? Surely that is on the horizon, so increasing more taxes on the wealthy seems very ill-advised right now. I don't necessarily want to do any of these. No, no, no. I just had a thought. We did say that we're going for a democratic socialist theme in France for this playthrough, right? If I understand correctly from what has been explained to me, one of the big attractions to democratic socialism is the idea that it's a government that is more representative of the will of the people, right? And that's why it's called democratic socialism, because it is closer to a democracy, like a real democracy, as opposed to a republic, which is a representative government. Democracy being the concept that all citizens get to vote on individual matters, such as various laws and policies, maybe even constitutional changes, big referendums, but the citizens get to hold a big chunk of the vote. What if we really double down on that theme and go for electronic direct democracy? That'd be interesting. This is something that's unique to clones and drones. Electronic direct democracy is a form of democracy that utilizes the internet to facilitate public participation. Liberals have been calling it for decades, but state employees are wary. The policy is also more popular with younger, net-savvy voters than the elderly. It costs 55 political capital to introduce, but this would actually be really cool from the perspective of a thematic playthrough. Be interesting. Very interesting indeed. Yeah, I think from the perspective of a thematic playthrough, this could be pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. Personally, I'm very wary of democracy, like an actual government or form of democracy, because democracy is basically a form of mob rule. Sort of. I mean, there can be certain constitutional protections, but the greatest danger of a real democratic system is that the majority will use their power to gang up on the minority. Now, in certain countries where the population is relatively homogenous, maybe that's not much of a concern, right? So, like my father, for example, went to Denmark, and they're more democratic than the United States is, and that's okay with them because all the citizens are very politically active, and basically their government is intended to operate based on the will of the vast majority of their population, and that's why they have several different socialistic programs and so on. Like, Denmark is a pretty good example of what a democratic socialist nation is supposed to be. Granted, I would argue that they have some fairly stagnant economic growth, but at least they're happy, right? Well, that's great, so long as they're pretty homogenous as far as the population. You know, they're all pretty much the same ethnic background, the same religious background, the same values. What happens in a country like the United States, where you have a lot of diversity in ethnic groups and cultures and religions and political views and so on? How does the mob rule beneficial at that point? I believe Benjamin Franklin described it. Who knows if these quotes are actually done by Benjamin Franklin or some other people? They may be falsely attributed. I don't know. But I believe it was Benjamin Franklin who described democracy as two wolves and a sheep voting on what to have for dinner. Obviously, the two wolves are going to vote to eat the sheep. Right, and that's why a representative constitutional republic that defends the rights of the minority, but also represents the will of the people, is why the United States has the kind of government that we do. So I'm a little bit wary of what democracy could become. I can see it kind of being appealing. I mean, I like the idea of an educated populace that is active in politics. Frankly, I wish the United States would be a bit more active on that, because I feel like we're very complacent and not protecting our rights and our constitutional protections. So having an educated populace that is very civically active is an appealing concept to me. That said, you know, do I want to, considering the fact that in the United States at least, so many people are not politically educated, do I really want them having votes on, like, constitutional issues? Probably not. So, I don't know. I remember seeing a Dilbert cartoon sketch on this, where, like, Dilbert was trying to develop an internet voting system as far as, like, voting for presidential elections. And the argument ultimately came down to, I mean, yeah, that seems kind of cool, but now all the stupid people get to vote for president, and they elected a chimpanzee. Or at least they were supposed to until the Illuminati prevented that from happening. But whatever. That gets into a different can of worms. Anyway, yeah, let's go for this theme. I'm going to save up all of my points because I'm pretty sure I'm going to need all of them. Hey, high productivity has begun in France. That's excellent. So that's going to lead to a good GDP growth. Appoint a senior judge. One of our most senior and respected judges has died, and now we need to make a choice for his replacement among the nominated candidates. This individual will sit on our courts for a very long time, so we must make the right decision. This sounds like the Supreme Court in the United States. I don't know if France has a Supreme Court. I'm really not too familiar with the different branches of government. So, I don't know. But for now, we have it. Do we have a strong supporter of human rights, individual rights and liberties, strongly pro-consumer, not afraid to challenge large corporations, or a person made famous for ruling harshly on violent crimes? Well, that's a conservative thing. We're going to go for Remy Lambert. Remy Lambert, partly because I like the name. Remy Lambert sounds cool. The Dutch deficit is actually shrinking because the GDP is going up, which is going to be even better with the high productivity. So if we can find a way to get rid of this corporate exodus, our GDP should go high enough that I actually suspect a lot of this deficit will just outright go away, which would be great. But we have a lot of reserves to play with. For now, why don't we go ahead and do what I said we were going to do and pass electronic direct democracy. What does this do? Everyone is happier. State employees, not so much. Partly because there's less need for state employees because the individual people get to vote. Retired are not so happy. Well, that sucks because one of my ministers is especially sympathetic to the retired, but oh well. Youth love it, liberals love it, everyone loves it. Which I feel like kind of offsets the damage of retired. If everyone loves it by, let's say, 3.55% and the retired dislike it by 11.82%, does that mean that 8% of the retired are actually unhappy? Like, that's the net change? I don't know. So we can go from district votes, which actually, in some states in the United States, we have something kind of like this. I know when I lived in Arizona, there were certain propositions that would be posed during the elections, and you could vote on those. I think even in Virginia, there's some of that. So to an extent, district votes or even regional votes is allowed in certain states, but I don't know what the exact rules are as far as how that works in the United States. I just know it can happen. Then there's federal state votes, referendum requests, which is basically what the UK just did before they left the EU, although I don't think that that was legally binding as much as gaining the popular opinion. And when I say popular, it was like, 51 to 49. It wasn't a very clear winner, but I don't think that's quite the same thing in the UK as is suggested in this policy. And then we have constitutional changes. So now all of the French can vote on how to change the constitution. Yeah, I'm going to go for this. It sounds like fun. Why not? Everyone's happy by it. That actually could do a lot for securing the vote for me. Sure, it's only going to cost me 500 million euros per quarter. I think that's not so bad. We have 11 political capital left, but you know what? I think I'm going to save it for next time because I can think of a couple of huge policies that I want to pass that are probably going to be pretty expensive. And I'd like to have as much political capital as possible. So we're going to hold off and see how that works out. I think that is the last turn, though. Yes, it is. So, okay. Next video, we are going to go into year 10. We are going to have our final election. That will be the final video of this series. I want to try and get rid of the corporate exodus and pretty much any other negative events. Hopefully, nothing new happens in France, but we will see. Thank you all for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If so, then hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And I, as always, will see you guys next time.